Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of About Abroad, where it's my job to introduce you to people who have built amazing lives for themselves in various foreign corners of the globe. We're talking with expats and thought leaders about moving abroad, remote work, visas, and all the fun and practical knowledge that you need to know to follow in their footsteps. If you've ever dreamed of making a life for yourself overseas, maybe working remotely or embracing long-term travel, retiring or studying abroad, or even just taking a peek inside life beyond your borders, you've landed in the right place. This episode is brought to you by my friends over at the Fez Agency. Did you all know that Portugal is currently ranked the #1 country in the world for remote workers? Yeah, that's right, #1 in the entire world. With the beautiful weather mixed with the history, friendly people, incredible coastline, and awesome cuisine, it is really easy to understand why. And in fact, some of our most popular episodes here on About Abroad are about Portugal. So I already know that you all love it, and I'm not going to waste your time trying to convince you to go visit. But what I will try to convince you of is planning your next company retreat there. And when you do, to use the Fez Agency. Fez Agency is local, right there from Porto, with people on the ground to help you plan your company retreat. They can map out every single detail of your offsite anywhere in the country of Portugal. So that way you can arrive, you can unwind and recharge with your teammates without the stress. You all know you love it there. I know you'll love it there. So let's get your team there. And the next time you're planning a company offsite, consider Portugal and then contact my friends over at the Fez Agency to make it happen. You can visit them via the link in the show notes. My guest today is Linda McCall. She is the co-founder and CMO at Nomad Stays, a booking platform specifically for digital nomads trying to bring down the cost and accessibility to awesome properties for long-term stays for digital nomads. And she's a digital nomad herself, living 1 to 3 months on the road in different places around the world, mainly in Europe right now. But their platform is spread across more than 60 countries, and she has traveled to more than 70 countries, including lapping around Australia and the US and multiple other continents on her motorcycle, and now enjoying time living in the French Alps and seeing more and more of Europe. So she's a true digital nomad and a platform builder and someone that is really inspiring in terms of how she's chosen to live her life. So a lot of fun talking with her. I hope you enjoy this one. Please help me in welcoming Linda to About Abroad. Yeah, so I mean, I can hear by your accent, you are obviously not European. I'm picking up a little Aussie there, and I actually didn't really realize that, I don't think. So where are you based, actually?
Thanks, Jace. Well, we're actually based in the Rhone Alps in France. As you can hear, I'm not French. I'm Australian. And so my French is not that great. And however, it's good fun being in the Rhone Alps because there's lots of places to go adventuring, and it's a perfect sort of area if you love the outdoors, even in winter.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to do in that part of France. France is kind of like an insanely beautiful country. I mean, when you think about it, it has like the Alps, it has the Pyrenees, it has the Mediterranean, it has wine country, it's got Paris, of course, and the north in Normandy is sort of like forgotten amidst all those, but it's one of the most incredibly beautiful places I've ever been. It's a country that's got quite a bit. It's pretty attractive.
Yeah, well, where we're based at the moment is it's near a lake called Lac de Bourget, and it's about an hour from Geneva, but it's one of the deepest lakes in France. So it's quite fascinating from the history it has around World War II, and the hiking trails are just incredible. Where we live, we're actually on the hiking trail that goes all the way down through to Spain. So every day we're able to walk our dog along these beautiful trails that people just dream about. So it's really lovely to see, just to be in nature. That's what we love.
Yeah. I spent some time around there actually last summer. It was the French Alps had sort of like eluded me for a little while. I'd passed through and I'd spent time in the Alps in some other countries, but I kept missing the French Alps in particular. And so we made kind of a point to spend some time there and spend some time around Annecy and Chambéry and this whole area. So I feel like we're in the same zone, right? Or that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's right on the Rhone River. So just really stunning area. Lots of castles and what we love about the little area, this is quite a quirky thing about this little town that we're in called Yen. They have an automatic cheese machine, which is bizarre because you can get cheese 24 hours a day, which we just love.
That's a very Alpy thing to do.
But innovation wise, we were, it seems to be quite a, just a farmer's area, and then all of a sudden we find out about this, cheese vending machine that happens to be a couple of kilometres down the road. So we were just loving that, the innovation around being able to have cheese 24 hours a day.
There are worse things, right? Like that doesn't sound terrible. Actually, that's funny you say that, because on that same trip that I was just talking about, we did pass into Switzerland around Lauterbrunnen, that area. I don't know if you've been up in there. I imagine you have. And we were like doing like a biking trail kind of thing and came across this old, like a very typical Swiss chalet, big farmhouse kind of thing. And they had like a little mini hut at the end of their driveway with all their like fresh cheese, fresh milk, fresh yogurt, things that they had created. And I think there was some very typical Swiss products in there that were like all homemade. And it was just like a little bucket there, like take what you want and leave some francs. And you're like, God, could it get any more idyllic than this?
It's a bit like that, isn't it? I think we're going to be complete cheese snobs and food snobs when we go back to Australia, that's for sure. So, because everything is so fresh and just so intensely beautiful in this area. So
it's very pleasant for sure. It's just there's so much to take in there. I mean, it's beautiful history, great food. It's a super high quality of life. You said go back to Australia though. Is that like so from what I gather, I'm so eager to pick your brain on this because I follow along some of the content that you produce, and I've kind of seen a bit of your life from the outside looking in. So now we get to learn a little bit more. But I gather you're sort of like a full-time digital nomad or slo-mad. I don't know how you define yourself, but what's the lifestyle like these days?
Okay, so we've been. I say the royal we because the founder and myself, Mark Phillips and myself and my dog, Dakar, we've been on the road for 7 years now as digital nomads. And we just started by testing it out, testing out this kind of living on the road kind of concept to see how it would work. So we travel with a motorcycle and a car. Someone's got to chauffeur the dog around, of course. and we share the riding. So one day, someone might be riding, and then another day someone gets to do the riding as well. And it helps a lot too when we're doing business in different areas, and then we can come together later on. So 7 years ago when we started in Australia, we thought before we go overseas again, we'll travel around Australia so we know our country like inside out. And having lived and worked in other countries before myself, I really was very passionate about knowing my country better before I went and lived again abroad. So we spent probably 4 years camping around Australia. We had a full drive, a rooftop tent, and we just camped everywhere. We loved it. We were traveling around Australia initially helping with startup ecosystems and helping to create and build startup ecosystems in rural Australia. And we were helping, co-working spaces and startup weekends and things like that. So that's how it started. And then we discovered we really loved it. We spent a lot of time outdoors. And, as you know, in Australia, the weather's quite good. So living outdoors is no problem at all. And we wanted to be quite nimble as well. So we didn't want to have a big caravan and drag stuff around, because the whole idea about going on the road was just to minimalise and do things simply and really experience more than being inside all the time. So we were very reluctant to have a caravan or anything like that. So we literally did camping for 4 years. But on the way, we found a problem that when we had to, be inside and have an apartment, we couldn't find affordable stays, and we found it very difficult to book them. So that's how Nomad Stays, our current startup that brought us to France, occurred. And So we were just pretty much solving our own problem.
I can't wait to dive into Nomad Stays because I'm really fascinated by what you're doing there. I was just looking at something. I've got to read this for the audience, and I want to just hear your reflection on this. Sometimes you write your own bio, and then I think you don't think about it again, or you just kind of like rattle it off and you think nothing of it because it's your life and you're like, oh, whatever. It's just what I've done. Taking just a little excerpt from your LinkedIn bio here. Inspired by adventure travel, I achieved my fixed wing pilot license, rode solo across America, lapped Australia, and crossed 3 continents by motorcycle and traveled to over 70 countries. Having lived remotely on Aboriginal Outback stations, worked as a swim instructor in Hong Kong and teacher of English as a foreign language, worked for the Saudi Arabian Minister of Finance and Foreign Affairs as aircrew. Good God, you've done a lot.
She who has the most fun wins, you see.
Yes. Well, I think you're winning. Hashtag winning. You have achieved that. I mean, those are some incredible things. Like to do some of those things, like 1 or 2 of those things in a lifetime would be feat for many people. So you have been busy.
I think it's all about taking opportunity, and all of those things that you mentioned there is just opportunities that came about. I was doing some studies. I was studying in the USA, and at that stage, we happened to have a motorcycle. We had 2 motorcycles in America that we'd been traveling on. And one of them sold really quickly after we did this big trip around America. And one of them hadn't sold. So while I was studying over in the States, I thought, oh, it's based in San Jose, so I could just ride across America, and because I can.
Because it's there and I have a motorcycle. So, why wouldn't I?
Yeah. So that was just an opportunity that I kind of took while I was over in the States, and turned out to be just perfect timing. And we're lucky enough to have some very dear friends in the States as well who looked after our motorcycles, and who are motorcyclists as well. So we, I think it's luck, and it's also the luck that you make. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, the opportunities can be there, but you have to take them, and not everybody says, oh, I can ride the motorcycle across the country. Say, oh, I got a flight and I could just hop on that flight to get across the country. How long did that trip take you? I'm curious.
Actually, that trip was really quite quick because I had a bee in my bonnet. I wanted to go to aviation meetup that they had in Wisconsin, and it's been a dream of mine to go to that meetup, particularly for aviators. So I studied 2.5 weeks to do that trip and I hightailed it to Wisconsin because I didn't want to miss it. I didn't want to get caught by bad weather or anything like that. So I went hard and fast, not fast, but I kind of, was just staying one night. I wasn't spending any time really in a lot of the areas except for 2 weeks in the Wisconsin area where the air show was on. So then I got to New York, and while I was studying in the States, there just happened to be a lady who was from the other side of America in New York, and she said, yeah, she was a motorcyclist too, and she said, yeah, you can leave your bike with me, so no worries. And I was like, oh, great, this is perfect. So that and it was it was almost like a little bit of a last minute kind of decision, but it was a decision that I made. So I personally, after having such intense study, I needed some helmet time, I call it, just to process everything that I had studied, and it was just perfect. It was absolutely perfect. Definitely needed that helmet time, and that's probably one of the things I absolutely adore about long distance motorcycling is helmet time. Just that beautiful moment where it's just you and your voice. You can sing at the top of your voice if you want to. No one can hear you. You're in the middle of the Mojave Desert, and you're just like you can sing along to yourself, and nobody knows that you're doing it. So,
I mean, there's something about the open road, like for sure. When you're on a road trip, I'm a road trip kind of person. I grew up driving long road trips, and I've joked with my friends, like I live here in Spain now, and when you drive more than I don't know if you've recognized this also in France, but like in Europe, things are just closer together. So when you talk about driving 2 or 3 hours, people are like, oh man, you got to break that up into 2 days. It's crazy. And I'm like, yeah, when I was young, like my parents, we lived in North Carolina. My family lived in Miami. We would get up in the morning and drive the 15 hours and get there for dinner. No big deal. And so anyway, I've grown up around the road trip as being kind of a core thing for me. And I've also done a US cross country road trip for a couple months and just love something about the open road. Like I can't quite explain it. I'm a camper van guy now. I'm not a motorcyclist, but I love driving around. You get to get into the small towns and like you just mentioned, the desert. You get to go see the things that you miss with the mass transport. And there's something about it. There's a sense of freedom there.
Yeah, I think while being in Europe recently, I noticed how people don't do the long distances, and I noticed how you kind of do need to, here in Europe particularly, you need to take some time to really take it all in, because extraordinarily beautiful, especially Spain, like where you are is just gorgeous. We just came from Granada area actually, and it is absolutely stunning. So we tend to, I don't know if we're really travelling that slowly, but when we do travel, so we travel like 1 month at a time or 3 months at a time. So we'll spend a month at a time in a place. Usually, we can find a good place to stay and it's got good Wi-Fi. But we tend to sort of take our time when we are travelling to take it, to take it all in, because Europe is like, I've just recently just crossed Spain, and it is an incredibly beautiful country. Just to drive across, and there's so many times I wished I had a camper van where I could have stopped and just taken it in a little bit longer. Yeah, so I'm very envious of your camper van.
I'm kind of envious of the motorcycle. The motorcycle seems cool, like,
oh, it's fun.
You're so right though. I actually, like, one of the moments where my wife and I said, like, okay, we've actually had 2 camper vans now, and the first one was kind of a disaster, story for another day. But the second one now has gone well. But the in between point where we were trying to decide, are we going to get a camper van or not, was we were camping up in the Pyrenees at this campground park that we love in near Parque called Ordesa y Monte Perdido. And I don't know if you passed through there, but anyway, it's a beautiful park. We were camping there, and this lady pulled up in this camper van next to us, and pretty sure she was French actually. And we were chatting with her a little bit, and where do you live? And she said, oh, I live on Ibiza. I live on the island of Ibiza out in the Mediterranean. We said, yeah, but you have a camper van? She said, yeah, I just took the ferry. I left yesterday, took the ferry over to Barcelona, and then I drove up through the Pyrenees, and now I'm camping here. And I thought, like, that's incredible. Like, you were just in your little Ibizan village there on the Mediterranean, on an island, and here you are in the top of the Pyrenees, in a day. And yeah, that kind of thing's possible when you hit the road. So that was the moment when I said, okay, yeah, we're getting a camper van again.
Yeah, I totally understand that, because it really is beautiful. We recently, last year, we did 13 countries. And for us in Australia, that's really exciting to say that, because, we can't just go to the next country like you can here.
Yeah, same for me, for coming from the US, but to a little bit, I think Australians really appreciate that, whereas Americans were like, yeah, I mean, we've got a couple countries close by, but yeah, coming to Europe gives you this like amazing ability to just cross borders and experience different things. It never gets old, does it?
No, it never gets old. And what I love is that the difference in the culture is it's so obvious. It's very obvious. And I think I said this last year. I said, I think you need to drive with the culture. I mean, this is a funny thing to say, but what I found after doing 13 countries last year is that when you drive with the culture, you know what country you're in, and you know how they behave. Like, there's this kind of behavioral kind of pattern they have, and it's really interesting. It's part of their culture. It's part of how they do business. So it's really fascinating to drive with them, to drive with the Spaniards, or to drive with the French, and we always kind of have a little bit of a laugh with the French, because they don't mind about parking over the lines, or parking in a skew way, whereas in Australia we go, oh my goodness, so we can go, yay, we can French park.
Yeah, you learn little things like that, right? Like where you're like, oh, I didn't know, I never thought about that, that they would do something this way.
And they're not offended. They're just like, it's just the way we do things. Just,
yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
This sort of thing happens in Spain too. They have like a well-known thing called double parking, which is like, on the road you parallel park, but then it's totally illegal, but it's perfectly acceptable to park next to the parallel parked car. And so like a car's parked up against the curb and double parked in the middle of the road. As long as you put your flashers on, nobody gets upset about this. And like technically you could get a ticket for it, but it's like going 2 kilometers over the speed limit. Like nobody's going to give you a ticket for that. And to me, it's like mind blowing. You've got cars trapped in here and you're just gone. Like you just parked and people will leave their car there and go run into the grocery store or something. And you're like, this can't be real. It's just weird little things like that are entertaining for some reason.
But it's really fun because, in Australia, people are like, oh, shock horror. And whereas here, it's just like, oh, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Or get really mad about it. Or like I've seen, you think about like road rage, and I don't see that here. Like I people use the horn sometimes or whatever, but there's a little bit of just like a relaxed, like the organized chaos is accepted. And I think in your country and in my country, it's a little bit like, no, the rules are there, we follow them.
Yeah, and I think one of the places that I found that chaos like normal is Albania and Bulgaria. Whereas that, you can expect a car coming towards you on the other side of the road, because that's just the way they're quite erratic. And for me, when I first experienced it, I was like, oh my goodness, what's going on? Like, but now you just expect it. So that's why I think it's really, really a great thing to do is to drive with the culture that you're, if you're coming to Europe, to drive in Europe is just fantastic.
It really is. Where are you now, by the way? I feel like you're not home. I don't even know if home is the right word, but given your lifestyle.
Home is where the heart is, hey? But we're in the Pyrenees at the moment in the little town of I'm going to say it correctly, Lourdes. And so I wanted to come up into the Pyrenees to explore a little bit more while Mark was away in the US, and today actually. And so while he was away, I went exploring with my puppy dog, and we have spent some time here in Lourdes, a little bit of time, and in a beautiful little town, de Luchon.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's very close to the Spanish border. That's probably one of my favourite places. I spent a bit of time there because it's a flying town. It's a really great place for if you love to fly. Gliders and parachutists and all sorts of people who love flying go there, which I discovered by accident. And so I totally love this place. And it's about an hour down the road, so we'll probably head there tomorrow. But I'm really enjoying exploring the Pyrenees at the moment.
Yeah, that's a really gorgeous part of the Pyrenees too. When you actually that place that I mentioned in the Spanish Pyrenees, the Parque Monte Perdido Ordesa y Monte Perdido, is actually super close to where you are geographically, but there's no direct connection. You have to drive like 3 or 4 hours around, go through Lourdes, and come back down south, like towards the Spanish border. But geographically, like it's super close. You can actually like walk there faster than you could drive there. I mean, that's just a gorgeous part of the world. I don't know if it's because the French Alps are so beautiful that the French Pyrenees get a little bit like overlooked, but I mean, they shouldn't be. Like they're insanely beautiful. The villages that are all tucked up in there, the natural beauty. It's an awesome part of the world.
It really is. It's beautiful. Absolutely stunning part of the world. This year we travelled from Portugal through Spain and then into France, and it's all of that area. Like all of those countries are just stunning to go through and explore. I feel sometimes I have to pinch myself. I go, oh, this is just amazing.
We'll be right back to the show after a quick break for a note from our sponsor. This season is brought to you by my good friends over at Insured Nomads. They're the absolute best in the business when it comes to providing health, travel, and medical insurance for nomads, expats, and really just all forms of world travelers. I know insurance is often something that's overlooked when we're fantasizing about traveling the world, but it's absolutely necessity that we address this because often the policy you have in your home country isn't going to cover you while you're abroad. And it's also a requirement, as a lot of people may not realize, to actually buy private travel or expat insurance, as it's called sometimes, to obtain a visa or even enter certain countries. So fortunately, there are companies like Insured Nomads to help us with this. Not only do they have excellent coverage and great prices, but they're also providing a first-class experience with additional perks and best-in-class technology via their app. It's an amazing experience. I can't recommend it enough. Now, this is a company that was built by world travelers for world travelers, so they know what it's like to find yourself in a difficult medical situation abroad, and they want to keep you from having that same bad experience. So the next time you're planning a trip abroad, whether it's for a week or a lifetime, check out Insured Nomads via the link in the show notes. Hey guys, so many of you write in asking how to support the show best. And if you are listening and made it this far into the episode, then I'm going to presume that perhaps you're one of those people that wants to help. So if that's the case, the best thing you could do right now would be to open up the app that you're currently using to listen to this episode. Go to the little arrow thing that allows you to share, select it, and share it to one of your social media networks. That would be a huge, huge help. You can feel free to tag me at DC Warrington, and I'll slap you a virtual high five from wherever I am in the world. Thank you so much for the support. We really appreciate it, and I hope you enjoy listening to the rest of this episode. Let me ask you, I'm really curious because somebody might be thinking this, like you've built a really beautiful life for yourself where you've done all these incredible things and you're traveling full time now. And I understand you have a bit of a minimalist lifestyle. It seems you don't have a lot of things. Is there a secret sauce here? Like how did this come to be? Is like that you built this? Because somebody listening might be saying like, okay, how do I live this way? And if you can provide either any background, like, hey, yeah, I won the lottery and I retired at 32, or, I was a trust fund baby, or, hey, I worked really hard and saved the money and here's how I do it. I've got this awesome online business, whatever it is. I'm super curious, and I imagine somebody else listening might be, because it sounds super idyllic.
Yeah, look, the nomadic life isn't for everybody. I will say that, because I've been very fortunate to have lived and worked in other countries before, living in houses, and I've bought and sold properties before. So I've lived very well up until now. I'm now 51, so I've lived and worked around the world and experienced what it's like to own a house, to renovate a house, a number of times. So I've been lucky enough to have experienced all of the things that, I've had. And what I realized in my travels as I was traveling around for work and for pleasure was that I really valued experiences more than the things that I had, because I would go off to live, to travel. I've traveled over 70 countries now, and my partner has done 100 countries. And what I realized is that I love people, I love experiencing people, and I love experiences more than I love things. And and in saying that, I used to collect teapots, and I used to collect antiques and art and all these things. So, and books, I love books. So to let go of those things was a real mind shift for me, as I made the decision to go on the road full time and explore this natural way of, being the world. Letting go of the stuff was initially quite difficult, because I was saying, oh gosh, this is an antique, like this doesn't have a value. But then I ended up giving, my really precious things to my friends to enjoy, and sold some things. And what I realized as I'm traveling now for 7 years is that I don't need much. And I think that's what motorcycle traveling taught me, is that I can live in 2 panniers. That's all my stuff. So it's easy enough to do that. And if I can live in 2 panniers, I don't really need much to keep going. So we need a computer, of course, good mobile phone. We need Wi-Fi, but we really don't need much to have a good life. And I think that has occurred to me over time, and having experienced a lot of different things in my life.
That's really good perspective, I think. And especially, I think a lot of people, as we get like a little bit older, like maybe you think, okay, when I was 20 or 25 or something, you wanted to travel the world and see a lot. And you think, at least in my case, like I thought, okay, well that's just going to be for a period of time. And then I kind of have to settle down, and then I'll have the rest of my life. And I think it's always really inspiring to see, like, it sounds like in your case, you had this in you your whole life. You wanted to travel, you wanted to experience things. things and travel the world and keep seeing new countries and things like that. But you never retired from that. And in fact, it's almost like you graduated into the, like, you're getting your master's or PhD in it now, like being a full-time digital nomad. And so I love how you've continued that trajectory. It wasn't something that you gave up on at an early age, which I think is really inspiring.
I just remember as a kid always loving going new places and meeting new people. And I was always so curious. Like, I think I left home at the age of 16. So to join the military, I was too young, obviously. I had to wait till I was 19. But I couldn't wait to leave my hometown of McCall and explore more of the world. I just remembered I just couldn't wait. And I had a great upbringing, so it's not like I wanted to run away from anything. I lived on the beach. I lived in paradise, actually. It was just gorgeous. And every time I go back there, I go, you know what? Why do I leave here? Because it really is just, it's in the Whitsundays. It's absolutely beautiful. But I really appreciate how I can see other people live and experience how other people live. And how cultures communicate. And it just never gets boring, ever. It's just incredible how to observe as I travel. And, obviously, as we travel, we work online. So we have a mentoring business that we call Business and Bare Feet that we earn from. And also, the in-platform Nomad Stays is our other income. So on that point about Nomad Stays, what we're finding so beneficial as a startup is to be on the road experiencing the pain point that a nomad goes through, and also understanding more about what stays go through and their pain points as well. So being on the road business-wise is it's actually detrimental to understanding our business on a really deeper level, on a much deeper level. So I'm really thankful that we have decided to build this business on the road, because we are seeing insights that we wouldn't see if we were stuck in Paris in, a co-working space in an office. So being on the road is really important, especially in these early stages of our business.
Can you elaborate on what Nomad Stays is for someone that has no idea?
Sure. So Nomad Stays is an affordable booking platform for digital nomads and remote workers for longer stay. We focused very much on being instant booking, so that, as you know, these days it's instant messaging, instant booking, instant shopping, instant everything. So we want things like yesterday. So we're helping people to explore the world while working from anywhere, because and all of our stays actually nomad ready. So our stay owners know what a nomad is. They know what they need. They know what remote working is. So they understand that you need to have a desk that you can pop your computer out on, or they know that there's a co-working space down the road that they can enter. So it's basically nomad ready accommodation for longer stay. So our minimum stay is 1 week, our max, and so 1 week to 1 month.
So these are like, forgive me if I use this word and you say that's a no in our business, but like, it's like Airbnb for digital nomads specifically, and longer term stays. And they could and also, correct me if I'm wrong, they're somewhat unique. I see the pictures. I've seen the listings. They look like they're not your standard, just basic walk in. And I mean, they look special.
So we're very niched. As I said before, we're highly niched in our product. So we're only for digital nomads and remote workers, people who are living and working around the world, which is kind of the new business person these days anyway. But they're professional people and they have specific needs. And what we found with the other platforms is that the prices are crazy prices. So we want to fill rooms in off the beaten track places. And, as we travel around Europe and see all these empty rooms, we're like, how do we fix this? Because there's these incredible little connected nodes everywhere. And some towns are actually falling apart at the seams because they can't get enough people to be in the town and to bring money into the town all year round. So it's a terrible, it's a problem where digital nomads can actually help, fill these rooms and fill these areas and bring in, good income. So a lot of the governments are recognising this, and one of the first governments to come on board with digital nomad visa was Croatia, and they were kind of like a leader in that space. And as COVID happened, COVID-19 happened, you saw more and more digital nomad visas coming on board because they realised the value of having people working and living from their town time. So we actually opened the month that COVID happened. That was our launch. Voila.
And so in some ways it's like, oh my God, what terrible timing. And it was in that moment, but at the same time, then all of a sudden remote work blows up and digital nomad visas come alive. And so it kind of was like perfect timing.
It was absolutely perfect timing because we grew 40% solid every quarter throughout COVID. And I hate to say this, it was a bit of a blessing in disguise in some way because it educated the world about digital nomads. So we were banging on about digital nomads, and people would go, what's a digital nomad? What's remote working? And now they're all like, oh, remote working, digital nomads. Yeah, we know what they are. So it educated the world for us.
I remember I said the word digital nomad to somebody and thinking like, I just, this is maybe like 2 or 3 years ago or something. I just threw the phrase out there in a random conversation. And this guy later came up and told me, he's like, I love that phrase. Like, that's so, like, he thought that I invented the phrase digital nomad. And I was like, oh, I don't know how to break it to this guy that like, that's just a common thing. Like he was thinking I was like really, really intelligent for having come up with a term for the traveling professional. And I was like, oh no, this is a thing already. Can't take credit, but that's not the case anymore. Yeah, it's a household name, and you see like the major publications out there are writing about digital nomad this and digital nomad that, and I've seen other phrases now like the traveling corporate professional or something like that, and I'm like, okay, we're just rebranding it, but whatever.
The executive remote worker, and that's Christy's amazing. She's doing some beautiful stuff around the world. So, actually, Christy, we interviewed Christy while she was a nomad on a boat.
Who's Christy?
Christy is the founder of Executive Remote Worker.
Oh, okay.
And and we interviewed her as a new nomad basically throughout COVID, and she was staying on a yacht, her and her husband, as nomads, living this nomad yacht life, which we ended up getting on as a yacht stay with Nomad Stays. So you can actually stay on a yacht in Croatia as a nomad.
That does not sound terrible. So, all right. So let's. I would love to ask you another question about Nomad Stays because this is a problem that I have with other platforms when I'm looking to go spend. I'm kind of like a slo-mad these days. I have my home base here in Spain where I live most of the time, and I probably travel like 4 to 5 months out of the year, let's say. And when I go to places, I like to go for about a month. Like it sounds super spoiled in some regards, but like if I'm going to go for less than a month, it feels like a quick trip, right? So that happens sometimes too. But if I'm going somewhere, it's like, okay, let's go be there for 1, 2, 3 months. And I think you and I share that. It seems like we both want to like kind of immerse ourselves in that place. But to do that is super expensive. Like if you go into Airbnb and you plug in a place that you want to go, you're going to pay probably 4 to 6 times more per month than you would. Like the initial price that you see is going to be 3 to 6 times more than what you would pay in wherever you are at home normally. Maybe you can get the owner to reduce that a little bit, but you have to brace yourself for this like pretty hefty price tag. And this is always very prohibitive for me.
Yeah, so what we have focused on, because there's plenty of platforms out there that you can pay exorbitant prices for accommodation for the month. However, we like to make sure that our Nomad Stays stay under €1,500. So we're really targeting this kind of 1,500 and below, so that it is affordable and it's not more than you would pay in a mortgage. So getting and to get those prices, obviously, it's not in cities. So we like to focus on the regional areas, being outside the city, and little villages and places off the beaten track, as we like to call it. So we're very focused on keeping it affordable, and that's so we actually knock back a whole lot of stays because their prices are just way past what we're actually trying to focus on.
So as the creators of the platform, you might have somebody coming to you saying, "Hey, I want to list my property on Nomad Stays," but you'll turn them away because of X, Y, or Z, and one of those factors might be because they want too much. That's really amazing to think like the the other platform out there would say, no, it's high. I mean, they literally push you as owners, as property owners, to raise the prices as much as you possibly can. They give you indicators to say, hey, look, you could raise your prices because, if you're making more money, then they're making more money. And that just continues to inflate the prices. So it's really awesome to hear that there's somebody out there creating a platform specifically for digital nomads and trying to actively keep the price low so that it doesn't try to just, steal every single cent that we've made along the way.
Yeah, exactly. And the important thing for people, with the stays is that they understand what a digital nomad needs, and that digital nomad is going to spend money for that month in their town. They're going to add, they're probably going to drop a good $2,000 or $3,000, or maybe a couple of $1,000s per person. So it's really valuable for them to have as an overall to keep as many digital nomads as they can. And also they add value to the community. So it's overall of benefit to them to have an affordable price to encourage people to come in and live in their town and experience their town as much as possible. Because vacationers come in and then they leave, but they don't actually have the mindset of a nomad. A nomad wants to add value to the town. It wants to help the place thrive, and so they spend money, in all the cafes. Like Mark and I will actually go to just about all the cafes, just to all the restaurants, so that we can get a new experience every time. So we share the wealth around, but it's something that can help, especially these European towns, really thrive by having an inviting to help them thrive.
I saw some statistic. I don't know if you might know it better than me, but it was something like slow travelers, which digital nomads fit into that category, all in all invest about 40% more into a local economy than just typical vacationers. Just because they're more like living there. They're going out, they're trying all the different cafes, not just the one tourist restaurant, for instance, or they're buying food at the grocery stores, and they're employing somebody to fix their laptop, or so, there's all these things that happen throughout the course of their stay. So I think that's a really important and probably overlooked fact. Is like you see people traveling around, staying in these different places, and you think, oh, cool, they're just passing through, they're living a great life, but the impact that they're having on local communities, and because people that tend to live this lifestyle are also kind of bypassing a lot of the major cities or a lot of the major tourist attractions, they're wanting to get off the road, to the road less traveled a little bit. And so they're getting to these communities that really need it and appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And, some people even, I don't know if you've seen that there's areas in Italy where they're buying up little towns and renovating small little villages just with nomads, and inviting nomads to come in because of the value that they add to the community. And it's much more needed in these small communities because of the impact that it has, especially with these small little communities that are all of their kids are leaving. So all the brains are leaving. All these young
brain
kids
drain, they call it.
They're going into the big major cities, and they need people who are innovators and people who care about the culture and bringing back the life into their cafes and towns. And so it's highly valuable, but I still think there's a long way to go. Educate these smaller regional areas about the benefits and co-working spaces and bringing innovation back into the town. affordable, like, having automatic cheese machines.
This is the baseline we want in every nomad village is an automatic cheese machine and a castle if possible. Well, I love it. I love the work that you're doing. When I see the places, I'm going to encourage people to go follow you that are listening and see some of the places that you post, because in my opinion, they look like they've been highly curated for exactly the kind of people that we're talking about here, that are looking for unique experiences and comfortable for the long term, not a weekend kind of place, but really settling in for weeks or months and stuff. And
we're incredibly proud of our stays, because they have tried so hard to make sure that they encourage, they're ready for digital nomads, and they're a lovely community of stays, and that's how we grew into 63 countries over the last 2 years, because we had these stay owners who recognised the market and said, yes, we want to be part of this. And obviously we keep it really affordable for the stays to list their stays. So we want to encourage people to explore more off the beaten track, for sure, as a digital nomad, and also to find these beautiful little villages and add some value to, and spend a month or three. Ideally, 3 months is fantastic in a place. If you can do 3 months in a place at a time, that's what we prefer to do, not 1 month at a time, but it just depends on a number of.
Well, yeah, no, I think people are gonna love what they see on the website and such. I would love to give you the opportunity here, mention where people can go to learn more and follow along you and the company itself, and we'll make sure to post all of this in the show notes as well.
Well, the exciting news is that we're a .com now. We used to be a .co, but now we're a .com, so that's our latest. Whoa! So it's nomadstays.com, and we on all social media. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram, we're Facebook. We have a community on Facebook, so come along and join the community. It's called Digital Nomad Explorers. And send us a note on any social media. There's always one of our team there. We have a team of about 15, all fully remote staff members. So there's always someone there to chat with. And if there's any, nomads out there that want to give the platform a go, we'd love to hear your feedback as well, because we're obviously open for bookings. So you can make a booking, and it's all instant bookings as well. So it makes it nice and easy for you to make it. We're pretty much on all social media. If you're on LinkedIn, drop me a line, say g'day or bonjour.
Wherever you're writing in from or wanting to go to one of the 63 countries you're in, that's incredible. I had no idea you were in that many countries. That's really impressive. Linda, thank you so much for sharing your story and more about Nomad Stays. I look forward to hopefully traveling with you guys here soon. I'm gonna check it out myself. So thank you so much. I hope you have a great day in the Pyrenees. I'm not even a little bit jealous.
You're just over the mountains, though.
I mean, the Mediterranean life isn't horrible either, but you want what you can't have.
Thanks so much for having us here. We really appreciate it, and adventure on.
Right at you. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in today from wherever you are in the world. Once again, I'm Chase, and this has been another episode of About Abroad. For those of you wondering how you can best support the show, I have made it super simple for you. Just go over to the show notes of the episode that you just finished listening to and click on one of the two following links. aboutabroad.com/newsletter to get our monthly newsletter, no spam, guaranteed, or ratethispodcast.com/aboutabroad, where you can quickly and easily leave a review for the show. It's not just important to me, it also helps more wanderers just like you find us. Finally, don't forget to subscribe on your podcast platform of choice, and we will see you again next week. Thanks again. Hasta luego, amigos.